minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 34 of Horsin Around right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-host from the East Coast of Maryland, Pete Visco. Pete, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I had my first workout in a while. I put myself out on the farm, so to speak, for 30 days. A little too much grazing. I gotta get back in the saddle, man. I'm a little bit out of shape. It felt good, but I'm a little sore. Gotta get ready for the Breeders' Cup. It's incredible. 2 months away, Pete, basically, is the Breeders' Cup. 9 weeks.
Well, the Breeders' Cup is all about sitting on your butt, gambling, drinking beer, and eating. So I don't even know why you need to work out for that. You should just, you could go the other way. That's the way I look at it.
I've been doing enough of that lately. I gotta.
Well, start in January after the,
you look like
resolution.
You look like a pretty svelte young man there. It looked like got some sun. You look doing all right.
Well, the sun masks all the other garbage that's going on in this body.
Right.
So yeah, let's not take any health advice from me. How about that?
All right. Well, it's actually tomorrow's gonna be the hottest day of the year in Chicago. It's gonna be actually 97.
Yeah, here too, actually.
100. Yeah. There's like big heat warnings and it's sort of crazy. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit the notification bell on the top right-hand side of the screen, and also below the video player, please smash that like button. As I realize my name tag's a little bit different only because I was on the show with Frank Scattoni yesterday, and apparently it just carries over on StreamYard. So didn't know that. But anyway, it looks fine. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to be recapping mainly, Pete, an incredible day. What a day. Travers Day, Saturday. We're going to talk about all 5 of the races briefly. I also want to talk a little bit about the Breeders' Cup Classic because I had that on the brain with Fierceness winning and the announcement that City of Troy is most likely going to the Classic now. Aidan O'Brien announced over the weekend, which is really exciting. And so I want to talk about the Classic, at least an early look at it. It's really, like I said, not that far away, Pete. Again, please listen to us at Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor. Tip sheets I mentioned. Huge weekend at Del Mar coming up, Pete. Pacific Classic. Please look into purchasing our Del Mar only Power Picks tip sheet. Noah Maher has been doing a great job with that. Look below the video player, Pete. And where can they find out more about the tip sheet?
Maybe the website? I don't know. Is that what you're thinking? hhhracingpodcast.com. Check it out. Tip sheet, all kind of information. Saratoga, Del Mar, our standard tip sheet. Go there, buy it all. It's the spending season. Just buy everything. A little back-to-school treat for yourself.
There you go. Oh, how was Jackson's first day, by the way, today?
It was good. First day today, yes.
7th grader?
7th, yes. So,
Crazy.
He's in that middle now. He's not the newbie. He's not graduating. Yeah. So now he's just like the normal. He thought it was a nice, easy, no transition. Very nice. Couple girls, he said he was in class with. So, all's looking up, hopefully.
I don't know the population around you, but being a member of the tribe, maybe he'll be at some bar bat mitzvah this year. That 7th grade is the bar bat mitzvah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So he has a few maybe Jewish friends or some people at his school. You never know, right?
He likes everybody, parties with everybody. Whatever we get invited to, we'll have to hit some pick fives though to give out some presents. So we'll have to give out some winners this week.
you don't have to spend too much money at that. So all you need to spend is $18. I'll explain to you later if you don't know. It's
I got you.
Lucky number in the Jewish religion. But anyway,
I can handle that maybe.
I'll give 36 like times people give increments. Anyway, moving on. Sidetracking. Let's talk about Saratoga. We got a lot of people, first of all, in the chat. Wow, 21 comments already. Who's here? Cool Kev. Salute, fellas. What's up, Cool Kev 75? Thank you. Marco Lou is here. With Marco Lou. I don't know what was more disappointing. Charles Appleby horse or horses or Sierra Leone. We will talk about that. Matt Miller put up a Sierra Leone comment. I can't deal with too much Sierra Leone.
He's just like an angry ex now. You can't listen to anything he says. He's disgruntled. He's discarded. So you can't listen to him really. Yeah.
Hey ho.
Hey ho.
Hey ho. What's up?
That's
hey
an
ho.
Awesome name, by the way. That is
I love it.
Yeah.
Going to be at the Breeders' Cup this year, first time. Hey ho. I'll be there too. Look us up, man. Hit us up give me a DM and we'll get together. Who else is here? Papadia or Papadia. I think it's Papadia. What's up? Max, yeah, it just happened, Pete. Big
Oh, yes, I
announcement.
saw that.
Yes,
Congratulations
and I
to
want to
us.
thank Angel. I can't remember her last name, but Angel was our 2,500 follower on X. How about that, Pete? We got 2,500. Pretty cool.
Love it.
Exciting for everyone. All right, let's get on to the recap. We're going to go in reverse chronological order. We're going to start at the Travers. We need to do that, Pete. We're going to show a few replays, not the whole thing, but parts of the race that are important. I want to say this off the start, and one thing I pride myself trying to be on this show is honest, Pete. And look, when we crush, right? And we want to say it. Like for example, last night had a nice Delmar pick 5 that I scored. I could not have been more wrong about the Travers. I was as wrong as can be. I didn't think Fierce was going to win. I didn't think Torpedo Anna was going to run great. I thought Sierra Leone had a chance. I thought Dornock was going to run well. Dornock was awful. Sierra Leone, I mean, I guess he was okay. I just was in one of the biggest races of the year, Pete. It sort of pains me personally that I was so wrong. I know you were a little wrong as well, but I mean, look, Fearsome was 9-2, Pete. It's not as if a lot of people loved him in this race, to be honest.
No, and Sierra Leone was getting a lot of love at the window and a lot of love. I mean, I listened to a lot of other shows, and everybody, I think a lot of people had, not everybody, a lot of people had the same idea. The pace was going to be hot, which I don't even know why we do that anymore. It's just stupid. But the pace was going to be hot. It's set up for Sierra Leone. We'll go in whatever order you want to talk about it, but I think that was the initial thing. And then Fierceness, as we'll talk about, Fierceness got the Fierceness trip that he likes. And if he does that, he's just better than all these in the end. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, look, the pace, Pete, when the pace doesn't run the way it should, that's gonna be a problem for me. I mean, these races are not run in a vacuum, but the pace was supposed to be hotter.
Well, when you have a couple horses who don't do what is only going to give them a chance to win, then it's confusing to me. I don't know if that's where you're going to go, but
I just want to know what Louis Saez was thinking here, and I like Louis, but Dornock is a need to lead type. Is he not?
Yeah,
as far as I know,
100%. He has no. As soon as you watch this race right here, it's like this. He's done. He's out. I'm tossing. If I would have been able live betting, he would have been a toss right there.
I know Batten Down was sending, but Pete, they weren't going that hard. I mean, Dornock has to be a dead send. I guess they figured, okay, Louis like, okay, Batten Down's not going to win. I'll just sit off a 30-1. Like, I understand that, but Dornock has never been able to sit outside horses and pass horses. I don't understand it. But anyway, whatever. He got a good trip. He's got a monster hold. Fiercest got, again, another perfect trip. Now, Pete, we've talked about this, and the grizzly bear's on the inside. I'll just let it run as we talk through.
Yeah.
Fiercest puts himself in these situations, though. So you can't really knock Fiercest for always getting perfect trips. My hesitation with him going forward, and we'll talk about it after the race, is what happens if he's down inside? Because it seems like every race, Pete, he's sitting a nice, comfortable trip on the outside. Again, 23 and 2 is okay, right? I mean, that's not blazing. No. But they go 48. I mean, I just don't understand this. Right now, Dornock should be up here, breathing down Batten's butt, Batten Down's butt, right? And make an early move. And Louis just seemed to be content. Torpedo Anna got exactly the trip, Pete, that we talked about on the show Tuesday, right? Yeah. His best chance to win was that pocket trip. Brian Hernandez gave an unbelievable ride, and Torpedo Anna was absolutely awesome. I felt once I realized I wasn't going to win with my pick 4 or whatever, and I was going to be wrong, I was cheering for Torpedo Anna. I know Patrick Kunzel would have had a nice score to Torpedo Anna. This is an absolutely perfect trip. Dornock, Pete, had absolutely nothing. I mean, right here, I thought, okay, Dornock's going to go by and has a big shot. And on the turn, Pete, he just came up completely empty here. 111-3 is not flying. Here's the tip out. Sierra Leone also tips out. Let me just freeze it right here. What were your thoughts right at this moment, Pete?
At this moment, I thought it was Sierra Leone fierceness, but because at least from here, it looks like Sierra Leone's getting the clear run that you would assume he wants, even though he's closing into a pace that isn't that great. But I assumed at least if he kicks in a bit, he at least could challenge. But once I saw it here, I thought the race was clearly over. And then until Torpedo Anna makes him, I thought Fierceness was gone about right here, just because he's so talented that if you get him on the lead, he's really tough. But
what he showed right there, Pete, reminded me of the Florida Derby a little bit, where he had that like quick burst acceleration when he needed it.
Yeah.
He's definitely getting better. I mean, obviously, he had a freaking 111 buyer in this race.
Well, nobody ever said the thing with him is he's awesome. We all know he's awesome. It's just, does he need everything to go his way? And in the 3 of the 4 wins that he's had in the last 4 races, they have gone his way. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it'll just keep going his way. And then you see Torpedo Anna was a beast there. I didn't see the gallop out. Did she go by?
I'll let it run through. I'll tell you what, I watched this race a few more times. I'm upset Sierra Leone didn't win, and I'm off him right now. I mean, for sure. He didn't run a bad race here, Pete. I mean, he kept perfectly. He kept perfectly straight. He lost by a length and a half, or 2 lengths into a pace that wasn't fast. I'm not saying I love him going forward. I don't want anyone listening or watching the wrong impression. I'm off him for right now. But to say that he ran a bad race, I have to take it back. I don't think he was actually as bad as I thought watching it again. I mean, that's the margin. There it is. Not that much, Pete.
No, it's not. It's not a bad race. I just think he's a cut below. And unless everything, he's another one, I think. And it's, that's the thing with deep closers. Generally, they need a lot of stuff to go their way, which is why it's hard to depend on. Yeah, there you go.
She galloped out in front. I mean, a little bit,
I mean, I don't, it's a big race. I'm not too worried about. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if she went by or if he was, if he sort of stuck his head in front of her the whole way. But my thing with Sierra Leone is, if you're counting on a hot pace and them to come back, and they didn't come back, they accelerated. And when they accelerate, he's not running down 2 super talented horses like that. Now, again, I still think Fierceness is taking advantage, and Torpedo Anna to a sense, of not the strongest 3-year-old crops on the male or female side. So I think that helps, but I think they're just better. Then obviously Torpedo Anna is a miles better than the female side, than the fillies. But I think Fierceness is just better. Not saying he always would beat them, because I do think he's still a little trip dependent, but he's just better than them. And in the end, that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. 111 buyer. Look, I believe in buyers. I'm a buyer guy. I also like time form. We haven't seen the time form.
I do. Number. I have them. I have all the time forms from Saturday. So
they came in already, or what do we got?
So he got a 130 actually. So it's in line. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
right in line. Yeah.
All right. Wow.
There was some monster time forms when we get to them. Sure. Remind me each race, and I'll read off the winner of each one.
I've had a busy day. Like I said, I went straight from work to working out, and then I had some errands to run, etc. No one cares. This is the first time I'm seeing these full field buyers, to be honest, Pete.
Yeah.
109 for Sierra Leone. I mean, that's by far a buyer top for him. I mean, the top 3, that's good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, all 3. Now, Torpedo Anna's not going, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, Pete, I completely 100% agree with that. I'm sure some people won't, but Nick Peake said they're going Cotillion next month, which is on $1 million race on Pennsylvania Derby Day. And then Distaff will still be, 4 to 5 in a $2 million race. I think that's absolutely the right decision, Pete. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I agree. I like it. I actually like it better. I mean, it'd be cool to see it again, but we saw it. It was great. And what she did was great. I don't think they need to go to the Classic. I think this was the test, because it was, let's prove, because she's running against such a weak crop. Let's prove how good she is. I think she did that. Yep. So I think I think whatever she had to do is done. Not that she had to do anything, but you know what I mean. In order to cement her status in this crop, I think she did that by far.
Let's move forward a little bit with the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Let's do it.
Is Fierceness the leading contender right now, Pete?
In terms of who I think would be the favorite, I don't think there is a horse to beat. And I know that's a cop-out answer, but I know City of Troy is coming, like you talked about. But City of Troy will never have run on the dirt until he gets here. Forever Young is a horse that everyone likes, but Forever Young is lost in space somewhere, as far as I know. I haven't heard much about him. Not that I'm good. You have a note on Forever Young?
He's fine. They purposely rested him up. They're going to prep him about 5 weeks before
Yeah,
the Classic and a
but
race
let's see something. Yeah.
in Japan, and then come to Del Mar. I see no reason why he won't run a big race. We'll have to
No,
see.
but me neither. But I think it's not. He hasn't been doing anything to
Nope.
show that yet. Then you talk about Arthur's Ride, who's a favorite of mine. I really like Arthur's Ride. He's done it once, and he's done it once on a bigger stage in a graded stakes race. Let's see what he does again when he comes back. And then who else do we have? Who else do you think is a contender
Well,
at this
it's
point?
it's interesting, Pete, because I put together a list.
I figured you would. That's what that was my
How's
that
that?
was my lead in to that. That was what
When
I
I
wanted
when
you
I
to do.
show you this list, Pete, and it's my list. It's my guess. I got to tell you, if Fierceness is the favorite, go ahead. And I want to make this clear too, and we're going to move on in a minute to the other races. I always, as I said, Pete, you know this. I bet with my head, not with my heart. I got nothing against Pletcher. Definitely had nothing against Rapoli. I just think he's getting really nice candy outside trips against what you could argue is sort of weak 3-year-olds this year in general. We've been saying all along these 3-year-olds are sort of meh. Now he's going to have to face this potential field, Pete. Take a look at this. Okay. Uh, Arthur's Ride, I'm assuming he's going to go, right? I mean, you would think that. I don't know who's running Sunday. You got the Jockey Club Gold Cup at
Yeah.
Saratoga Sunday. I'm assuming he's going to be in it. I think they said he was going to be in it. National Treasure, Senor Buscador. I'm assuming Dornock and Sierra would go. There's Forever Young. Don't sleep on our boy Tappa Tryson last year, who came back well in his 4-year-old debut, and
He
he's
looked
supposed to be.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
looked
looked
really
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
Ushba, City of Troy. I don't know if Next would go, but he'd be a fun entrant. Krupe is a solid closer. I mean, maybe he's not
Yeah.
a win threat, but I
No.
mean, he's a decent horse. Bright Future. I mean, looking at this field, Pete, is Fierceness your favorite?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Okay.
Well, because
Wow.
I'm not saying he's my favorite in terms of who I think is the best horse in the race, but I think he'll probably be the favorite because of familiarity and because of the people who are betting us. They're not going to bet. Ushpa's a little, Ushpa's not up here. Ushpa Tesoro, he's still really good. City of Troy is going to look great, but I think the whole turf to dirt thing is maybe going to scare some people off. And Forever Young, I think Forever Young will take a lot of money because people remember his Derby. If he runs well and is dominant in his next race, I think he'll be in contention. But one of those three. I don't think Fierceness will be like odds on or anything. Do you? What do you think?
Oh, no. I got to tell you, if you ask me who do I trust in the Breeders' Cup Classic going a mile and a quarter with this field, I trust Arthur's Ride more than Fierceness. I just do.
Well,
I
this
think.
different. I think trust
I,
and who's going to be the favorite are two different things,
well, I
though.
think Arthur's Ride should be the favorite.
I think Arthur's Ride, if he looks great like he did
Right.
last time, if he looks great, and like you said, if it's the Jockey Club or wherever he goes next, if he looks great, then I think that changes everything.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah,
want to see it
I think
again from him.
yeah.
I agree.
Let's see it again because that was a weird
Yep.
race. He jumped on the lead. He got away. Let's see if he has to face some speed and someone on his neck.
I mean, if that field holds together mainly, Arthur is faster than Fierceness early. National Treasure would send. What is Dornock going to do? I mean,
we say National Treasure is sent. They do some really weird stuff with him.
Let me tell you something. At
Del
Mar, in the Breeders' Cup Classic,
go.
he's going.
He's
Well,
going.
my point is, I know this is going to sound crazy based on what we just saw in the Travers. It could be a fast pace if that field develops.
Yeah.
Fierceness is going to have to show it to me again. I don't think these 3-year-olds are great. I think he would face a lot of pace pressure, especially if he draws like 1 through 4, Pete, with other horses coming down on him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a fun race. And City of Troy has the type of style that could win. Not only is he very talented, he's tactical, Pete. This is not like some kind of dead closer like turf horse. This is a horse that has very high cruising speed, and he's by Justify, and they've been pointing this race since last year when Aiden was on our show that they mentioned last year Breeders' Cup that this was a possibility. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens going forward. Pete, let's go on to a race that was very profitable for me personally. This was the flip side. The Jerkens domestic product wins pays what I think is a ridiculous $11, and that's not red boarding, Pete, because you know how much actually a lot of us like this horse.
Yeah, I loved him too.
You like this horse as well. Yeah. This was my spot play, price play of the day on our Power Pick tip sheet. I said, Pete, I thought he might be a wise guy and might be like 3-1, 7-2. No, we still got, $11. Prince of Monaco ran very well. Heartbreaking second. Bookham Dano ran fine, but just didn't quite pick up the pieces. The buyer came up very solid. You see on the screen there, 106 for a domestic product, 105, 104. Another very high class race, Pete.
Well, and it's funny because we talked whenever that was Wednesday on whatever our show is when we were talking about the
Tuesday, yeah.
sprint. We were talking about the sprint and how weak the sprint division is this year. And this weekend, just in general, really enhanced the sprint division because I think these top three are all contenders. I know Bookham Dano lost, but I think Bookham Dano under the right circumstances. And then you go out west, which we probably won't talk about, but Raging Torrent beating the Chosen Vron, that was a pretty impressive performance as well. So, and then we have, so from there, I think at least the sprint division got a little livelier this weekend because we thought it was sort of down for the most part going into the weekend. Maybe when we'll get to another race, another one we're going to talk about as well, who at least stamped himself as a contender. So, but I thought domestic product was fantastic. I think he was the kind of horse that made sense on the Derby trail. You give it a shot like always. What does Paul always talk about? They get the little Derby fever or whatever, the DFS. And you say, you know what? There's always a couple horses, at least one, who rises out of that and cuts back and just steps forward and becomes really good. And he looks to be the one. And I think that's what you and I thought going into this weekend. So, and he definitely proved that out, beating a really good horse in Prince of Monaco. So very impressive he was. And I like this horse going forward.
I think there's two things that hurt Bookham Dano. Number one, I don't think the inside was the place to be Saturday. Yeah. Number two, I don't know if you feel this way when you watch races, Pete, live or replay. The fact that Bookham Dano was like a few, not lengths, a few paths away from Prince of Monaco and Domestic Spenny, who obviously felt and see each other. I'm not sure Bookham Dano ever saw those two horses who was outside, and I think that hurt him a little bit as well. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
I mean, sometimes you could tell where it's a little better to be engaged and a little closer engaged. And I think we see that. And that's why sometimes people bring their horses a little closer because they want to get that. They want to know, here's the one you have to beat. So beat him or her or whoever. And I think that definitely comes into play. And it's also Bookham Dano ran great. The other two just ran. Yeah. He ran really well, I should say. Not great. He ran really well. The other two just kind of ran great.
You want to answer Mark's question on the bottom? What grade would you give this 3-year-old crop? I'm assuming he means the boys.
Yeah, I assume from a boy's standpoint, I don't know. I would give it sort of a B- kind of grade. Yep. It's very.
I agree.
Yeah, but I said that all year. I've never been a huge fan of this crop, and you could tell because until Fierceness started winning these last couple, different horses, and Dornoch got a couple, but different horses were winning the races. And when that happens, it's usually not the strongest crop at the top end. But, Fierceness is really good.
Mark. I'll tell you what, Pete. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm not going to have him on the win end. Maybe I'll play him in doubles in the BC. I don't know what I'm going to do. There's a long way to go here. He is going to be, I think 8-1 is actually pretty accurate by Mark. Depending on the field, he's got to be he's got to be more than 6-1, Pete, if a lot of these horses come, right?
I wouldn't shock me if he's, I wouldn't shock me if he's double digits. Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, because I just don't think he hasn't shown himself lately to be a winning horse against this crop. And now you're bringing better horses in. So what would make you think he's going to turn it around? And we're not going to see him in between. So he's not going to give you the opportunity to say, oh, there it was. He put it all together. He ran by a pretty good field. We're not going to see that. So our last what?
Are they training him? I haven't heard.
I thought I read yesterday that they were training him. I thought I thought I saw him and Fierceness were both training up.
Oh, Sierra also. I didn't hear that.
I think so. If somebody please in the chat correct me. I thought I saw that. But it's probably saw it on X or something. So that who the hell knows if it's true. But
that's what I would do, frankly. I think rest them up a little bit. Work it. I would send them out west early, get a work or two over the track. Personally, that's what I would do. Where do you go with domestic product, Pete? We talked about Kyle and I talked about it after the show. Sprint, dirt mile, not to the Breeders' Cup at all.
Oh,
What do you
no,
do?
got to go to the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, I think in a sprint, I think, because what's the sprint at Del Mar? What is it? Is it
6?
6, right?
Yep.
6 is tight.
And the mile's a 2-turn mile.
Yeah, I would go sprint. It's tough at 6, but again, obviously there's speed. I would just take him there. I think he's on an upward trajectory. Why screw around with it and put him back at 2 turns? I don't. What do you think? What did you guys?
I would go 2 turns. He's not a 6
You would?
furlong horse. I think he'd get outrun. Personally, I
He
think
probably would, but
it is 2 turns, but it's only a mile. So I think that would suit him fine. That's where I would go.
it's fine.
Prince of
Yeah,
Monaco, I'd go to the sprint with Prince of Monaco.
yeah,
Actually, let
it's
Baffert give him a
fine.
chance to win that race. Book him Dano. I don't know. I maybe the dirt mile. There's also the cigar mile, which is a real nice race in New York. That's Thanksgiving weekend. It's a great one. I mean, so I don't
Yeah.
know. Interesting.
No,
Timberlake
that's a
actually
tough
ran
call.
okay,
Yeah,
but
that's a tough. Yeah,
yeah,
Timberlake to me is just he's fine. He's a
yeah,
he's a grade 2 horse to me.
yep. I will say bye to Timberlake in the Breeders' Cup. He won't be there.
Thank God we don't have to hear that pun too many more
boy.
times. That's
All right, let's just move on. This horse really upset me, Pete. This whole race pissed me off. I was alive in the pick 5. I had Farbridge as a B. I have to tip my cap to Andy Serling, who had Farbridge on top. We'll talk about that turf race in a little bit here.
Yeah, that was garbage, but we'll get to that.
And I had Society. Great tip the cap to Paul Halloran, who had Society. I had Society's in A, so I was alive. I just took a stand in 2 races, basically Saturday, within my horizontal. I didn't love Mulligan, and I was gonna be against Fiercest and Torpedo Hannah. Oops. So anyway, it ended up not mattering. Pete, this is a grade 1, and no one goes. I just look. Hats off to Mulligan. Maybe I'm poo-pooing too many horses. I'll give him credit. Hats off to Mulligan. He ran a grade 1. He won the grade 1. I know Gun Pilot, if you remember, was a big play for Nick Tamro. Had to be really pissed when the pace didn't develop. But hats off to Nick, who Gun Pilot did come back and run well. But Pete, once I saw this first quarter, I was like, I'm in a lot of trouble with my bet because 2 reasons. First of all, Cagliostro was a complete disaster. We loved him on the outside. This start by Cagliostro, horrendous right there. And then, where's the speed from Baby Yoda? Twisted Ride, the 2 didn't really send hard. Anchor is not, is more of a stalker. And right here, it's like, I mean, look at the hold. No one's really pressuring him that much. I mean, it's over at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because aside from maybe Baby Yoda, and Baby Yoda, as much as we look at him and think about some of his fast races, he's not a pure speed horse. He does sort of sit right off. I think that the field and the trip and everything just worked out for this horse, and he's just a really good horse who's improving as he goes. So I think this is one of those races where everything came together. The pace was great, the trip was great, and the horse is really good. So when you put all those together, it's hard. It's hard to beat a horse like that. I mean, he's just another one. We just talked about it. He's on the upswing, and what was the question? The question going in was, this is a step up in class. How's he going to do? It wasn't a great step up in class. This was not a great field, but he at least showed he could beat a quality graded stakes field. This was definitely no grade 1 field. I don't know if you so I don't know if it proves that like he's the horse to beat or anything in the sprint division, but he's stamps himself as a contender in still what isn't the greatest division that we have.
No, it's not a very good division. Again, Pete, I like horses that win with some type of adversity or just not perfect trips. And this is a very good horse. We'd love to own this horse. I mean, obviously, he's a grade 1 winner now.
Yeah.
Hats off to them. But we are handicappers, and we're trying to give the public our best opinions here. If you won Mulligan at 3-1 in the Breeders' Cup Sprint or 7-2 against a lot of others, speed and probably
there's going to be speed.
Good horse. There's going to be speed.
Yeah.
Good on you. I'm not interested. He has not faced great horses, and he's just gotten away with murder. And I liked him last time, if you recall. I mean, he was, whatever, he was even money, whatever. So who cares? But it's not his fault, Pete. It's just, it's a game about value, right?
Yeah.
So
I think Singh in the comments is making some good points where horses make their perfect trips and you don't want to get fascination of holding perfect trips against the horses. And I agree with that, but and I don't do that. I'm not the type who says, "Oh, they got a perfect trip that they can't do it again." But in some cases, you look at it and go, they're most likely poo-pooing. Yes, we love to poo-poo sometimes. You're
Sometimes.
most likely not going to get that kind of trip against a better field with speed. So,
All I'm saying is just no one went with them. That's not going to happen
yeah.
in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, that's
No,
just
there's
not
some
going to
fast
happen.
horse. That horse on the West Coast is pretty fast. So let's see him compete with him,
The
Raging
Chosen
Torrent.
Run, or are you talking about
No,
Raging Torrent?
Raging
Or
Torrent. That horse is
yeah,
fast, man.
and I'm assuming they're both going to go. Matt was saying it's a really rough day. People who can't help but play every race likely got crushed. Spot pickers had a chance if they picked the right spot or two, but overall on the day, tough puzzle. And by the way, hats off to Matt Miller, who got his NHC seat on Saturday, and he basically did it with a double. That's it. He made one bet all in. The double was earlier in the card, by the way. It was I can't remember the name of the horse. The 2 horse in the dirt mile shoot race, which had
The
Banishing, who again another
oh,
who had equipment issues, of course.
that
Um,
was Arrow Smash. That
Arrow
race.
Smash. He played the
Yeah.
Arrow Smash, and then he played that coupling into the in the sprint in the next race.
Oh,
He
that
went
was a
all in
nice.
that
Yeah,
double, paid
yeah.
like 8-1, and there you go, done.
That's perfect. That is
$400.
perfect.
There you go, done. So congratulations to Matt. But anyway, anything else you're going for in this race?
No, I think Mulligan's the only one you care about. Cagliostro, I think you give him a little bit of an
Yeah, of
excuse. I mean, I
course.
don't think he was winning that race because Mulligan was still going
No.
to have the lead. That he's not the type of horse who was going to change that, but he is the type of horse who, and the way I don't know, I think remember us talking about it. The way we thought about him was he likes to be closer. He likes to sit right off, second, third, maybe. He's sitting dead last because he stumbles and his race was over. So I would give him a pass. Again, not talking like Breeders' Cup winner or anything, but I'd give him a pass in wherever he tries to go next.
Yep. Katie wants to Panagate. I put a shout out on X. That was yesterday, but congratulations to Adelphi Racing and Panagate winning
That's a
the
fun horse.
Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, he's a really cool New York bred for sure.
Yeah.
Here's another cool horse, Pete. And I'll tell you what. You want to talk about a horse that's made for Del Mar with her tactical speed. Society ran fantastic. Sat off of
Well, that was the
uh,
thing.
Mooney's
Yep.
Gold, which we thought, I'm like, Mooney's got to go, right? I wish Mooney had done the race before, but anyway, Society just sat off very professionally, went right on by, and just flat out beat Scylla and Vava fair and square. Pete, let me give you a little Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare sprint taste. How about this possible lineup?
Let's
Possible.
do it.
Okay. Society, Ways and Means, Sweet Azteca, who is a really nice horse for Michael McCarthy, who
That
won
was
out
yesterday,
west.
right?
Yep. And by the way, Michael McCarthy trained a horse you might remember called Cece, who won the Filly Mare
Yep.
sprint at Del Mar 3 years ago. How about maybe a Nick Style if she can continue to run on? That was that freaky horse that is undefeated that won at Saratoga. The Filly Mare sprint could be a real nice race, Pete. But anyway, Society was very good in this race.
She was great. And Paul, well placed. Said hats off to Paul. We give him his props. Even Paul, I don't think would expect, though, that Society would sit off patiently like that and win the race. My assumption was he thought Society would outspeed Money's Gold at some point. And she just sat beautiful watching the race. I was like, man, if she's going to do that, she's just good. And, she's a good horse. I would have played her on top if I knew she had that in her. I would have played her. I didn't have her. I lost my horizontals. This was one of the races I got knocked out. I had a bunch, and I just didn't expect that from her. And she was super professional, like you said. She got a great trip. She Gaffleone sat her perfectly, and she went. And Vava didn't have it, and Scylla just wasn't good enough.
Well, Pete, are you noticing a trend? Because this is something to remember. I'm not saying this was the reason. Again, Vava trying to close on the inner paths.
Yeah.
Right? Society more like 3-4 path, as was Fierceness, as was Domestic Spending. I mean, you could say one race, is a fallacy. 2 races, okay, maybe 3 or 4 races. The inside was not the place to be. Now, I'm not saying it was a dead rail, but it is something to think about because Vava, I thought Right Here was going to go by, and credit to Society, but Vava just didn't quite have it. You did make a good point about Vava on Tuesday, though, about the spacing. Maybe that was it, Pete.
Well, again, yeah, we did, just to refresh everybody, we talked about, or I mentioned that Vava hasn't run well off of the layoff, and maybe that's just not her thing because she was, regardless of what the rail was, she just wasn't herself. She's just a little more explosive than that. So maybe she's one that, depending on where you get her next, if she's sort of second off, then maybe you play her back and see if she maybe doesn't take the money, depending on who she's against. But yeah, I don't. There's not a lot for me to say. I'd like Scylla. Scylla ran the race that I would hope Scylla was going to run, and she just wasn't as good as Society. But she was solid. She just wasn't great, and I thought Society was great.
I think you come back with all three. I think should come back in the filly and mare sprint. I Scylla ran perfectly fine. She's not a mile and eighth.
No, I think
she's
what
not the
hurts
face of
her.
Grizzly Bear.
What hurts her is they don't have that middle race for her really. That I think that hurts her. I'm not sure.
Well, it is 7 though. It's 7.
It is 7. Yeah, it is 7. So I'm not sure, but I don't know if she has the same kick or not, or again if there's a little more pace. But what else are you going to put on? She's good enough to hit the board. So
yeah, I think Vava should definitely go. I mean, she's been
Vava's got to go. Yeah.
I mean, so anyway, that could be another really
Ways and
fun
Means
race.
is really nice at 7. So I think Ways
and
Means is going to be
I would
fun.
be tempted to play Ways and Means in that race, so like 4-1 or so whatever.
Oh, that would be nice.
Right?
I think I would do the same. Yeah.
Let's go to the last race we're going to talk about today. This, I'll tell you what, this was a major upset and really knocked a lot of people out of the pick 5 right away. It was hard to believe that the Applebees were going to lose. Well, you weren't alone, Pete. I mean, look, I didn't love Farbridge, but I just, based off Andy Sterling and just, I hate losing first legs, and I was a sucker and played Farbridge, frankly, just because I didn't want to get beat by her, but I didn't think she was going to win. To suggest that I thought she was going to win would just be completely silly. Went to the lead. I love the aggression here by Rosario. I don't like certain rides that he gave, especially yesterday, but that's another story for another day. Farbridge went to the lead, which I think was a bit surprising. And we're not going to watch the whole race. But I'll tell you what, top of the stretch, you see the Applebees are just sitting. That's not the top of the stretch, but Pete, zero excuses for both Applebees. They just weren't good enough today or on Saturday. They just weren't.
No, they weren't. But this is one of those weird ones because, yeah, they weren't good enough. But Farbridge is a good horse. And if you give a good horse a lead and you give a good horse fractions that are tenable, a good horse is going to be able to do that. And Rosario, for as much as we knock him sometimes for getting his horses in the way too far back and doing some weird stuff, when he's on the lead, man, he's awesome. And I love him on a horse that I know is going to go to the lead. Just didn't know he was going to go to the lead with this one. And I don't know if you can, if you look at the PPs, I'm looking at the PPs, he's never once in any of his races been even close to the lead. He's 7th, 6th, 7th, 5th, 5th, 6th, 8th. Right. He's never even close. So it was, even if you liked him, you didn't like him because he was going to do this, right?
No.
I mean,
but it was a slow pace though, so it's not like he shot.
But I mean, but he's not the one you would think would be setting the slow pace. No. You would think Silver Knot would have been the one trying to set the slow pace, most likely.
If they had in betting racing, you can bet within
live
the race in the United States, live racing. I got to be honest, there's no way in hell I would have bet Farbridge right here because Silver Knot's breathing right down him. Measured time tipped out like he was going to go by. I was frankly shocked and not completely disappointed selfishly, but I know a lot of people were.
Yeah.
That Farbridge hung on. He just kicked on. I can't find any excuses for either of the athletes in this race. I mean, you can say it's a slow pace, Pete, but they were right here pretty much going to the stretch, and they just got outrun. I mean, they did.
Yeah, that's
right here. I mean, what's the excuse for measured time?
No, measured time is supposed to go by, but Farbridge kicked in, and Farbridge won the race. Now, I wouldn't take anything against Farbridge. He won the race, and he's a quality horse. It's just when a race goes completely against the expectation from a pace standpoint, not that you thought there was going to be a hot pace or anything, but I just didn't think he would be the pace. When that happens, it's just a little frustrating because you sit there and go, man, that's completely out of the norm for what I expected for this race. And Silver Knot didn't do what Silver Knot does. Like Silver Knot ran the trip. that you would. Silver Knot sitting off is fine. Silver Knot is good sitting off. He just didn't have it that day, and measured time again just didn't go by. I don't know what else to say about him.
I mean, Farbridge ran. Now the buyer was a little bit lower because the
It was
pace
low.
was slower.
Yeah, the
I
pace
like
was
curious
slow.
to see what the
Yeah.
time form was. You
Oh
have the
wait, let
time
me
form.
look. I forgot. On some of these, by the way.
But even so, Pete, I mean, measured time and Silver Knot both had to regress pretty substantially to lose this race,
But
and
wait,
they both did, which is pretty crazy.
Farbridge got a 1:30 time form.
Wow, really?
Yeah, same as Fierceness. By the way, I'll read these off real quick just for the races I missed.
The winners?
So Society got a 126, which is
okay.
I think a little bit in line. Domestic Product got a 129. Mulligan got a 129. Fierceness, I said 130, and Farbridge 130. Yeah, so that's way different. So that's the kind of race where if we looked at it and you're handicapping next time, you see that discrepancy and you say, well, which one are you going to trust a little bit more? Do you trust the higher end number? Do you trust the little bit of a lower number? Obviously, they take different things into consideration. So I don't know.
I don't want any of those horses in the Breeders' Cup turf. I'm sorry. The main reason why these Applebys are here, he flat out said it, is that they can't really cut the mustard in high level group races in Europe. And Pete, that there's gonna be some, 2, 3 monsters or real nice Group 2 horses coming over.
Yeah.
For
I'd
the
like
Del
to see if
Mar
that
race,
horse that ran second to the horse that ran second to City of Troy. I think if that horse came over. I forget the name.
So
it starts with a C. Yeah, that horse.
I know
was really
Al
good.
Rifa is not coming. Supposedly, you think Al Rifa is pointing to a different race or maybe Asia.
And that's the thing. You don't know where anybody's pointing. It's a little too early to figure that out.
I know Augusta Rodin is not coming. He's definitely going to the Japan Cup. They pretty much just said it. So, but look, there's plenty of good Euros. Once again, the Euros are going to dominate that race, in my opinion, unless something very bizarre happens. Pete, I think that wraps it up. And we talked about Sweet Azteca, Pandagate. We talked about pretty all the big races coming up this week, Pete. Just to remind everyone, we are going to be Wednesday night. We are flipping it around. I say remind because people on our email list already know this. We're going to flip around our Picks and Ponies show and Bet and Boozin' because I want to feature the Bet and Boozin' guys with the Pacific Classic. So they are doing the Pacific Classic with West Coast Bias and actually a cool special guest that's going to join them for the Pacific Classic portion of the handicapping. Another young man in his 20s that I think people are going to enjoy. That he's going to be guest host, not hosting. He's going to be a guest on the Bet and Boozin' show only when they handicap the Pacific Classic. Again, Wednesday night or Thursday night, you guys can watch there at home or listen and find out more about that. And we are going to go Wednesday night, Pete, yourself, Paul, and I. And we're not going to cover a pick 5. I decided to make a little bit of switch, and I hope people like that. There are 3 big stake races at Saratoga and 3 big stake races at Kentucky Downs.
I like Kentucky Downs.
The rolling hills of Kentucky Downs. Like, there's a $3 million race, Pete. I mean, with a Kentucky infused purses, it's crazy. So we're going to cover 6 races, yourself, Paul, and I, on Wednesday night, regular time. 3 at Kentucky Downs, 3 at Saratoga. So it should be fun. And then Bet and Boozin' will be Thursday with a massive Pacific.
Well, and the good thing is both of those sequences are pick 3s at least. So we're at least covering 3.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah,
perfect. I didn't know
they're
that.
both pick 3s. So we're actually be covering 2 sequences at least. So that's something. Even though it's not a pick 5, I'll at least be covering 3 in a row. And thank you, Chris Mack. By the way, Callan Dagan. I don't remember how to pronounce the horse, but that's the name of the horse. I just thought that horse was really good.
Yeah. Final. Let's see. I'm just looking at the chat. Did Purse Thief win today? Purse Thief is a horse for.
That wasn't today, was it?
Was it? I'm not sure. Okay, I don't know. That's okay. Final thoughts, Pete, about last weekend. Anything coming up? Anything in your world you want to share with people?
No, nothing too exciting. I think it was a great weekend. I mean, I think what we like about this is it's the end of Thursday. Thank you, Paul. Purse Thief goes on Thursday. I knew it wasn't today, but I knew it was coming up. What we like about this, it's the end of the summer, which is always a little sad, but from a horse racing standpoint, we know that now there's generally one race in between here and the Breeders' Cup for some there's none, but we know that now we really start thinking about the Breeders' Cup. And we always say horse racing shouldn't be all the singular events, and that's not what it should be about. But it is, even in our minds, a little bit. Everything we do is leading up to the Derby, leading up to the Travers, leading up to the Breeders' Cup. That's what gets us excited, and I think we're gonna be talking about that a lot, and that's gonna be fun.
I think so. It's going to be great. Again, look into our Power Picks tip sheet, especially for Del Mar. You can do it only this weekend. You can purchase very inexpensive, very profitable. Noah Maher writes it. Go on our website, find out. And Pete, I just want to once again thank everyone for listening and watching. We had 2,400, I think, live viewers this past Saturday. We had like 3,500 views on our Tuesday show, and then we had the morning show. We had about 6,000 views. And I'm not even talking about the audio listens. We had about 7,000 views / listens this week for Saratoga, Pete. I mean, unbelievable.
That was fantastic.
We just crossed the 2,500 mark on X. Of course, that could go down to 24.99 if someone says F you or just whatever.
Yeah.
But that's been great. Our subscribers on our YouTube channel are over 4,200. And we can't thank enough everyone out there, Pete, because we wouldn't be who we are if it weren't for our listeners and viewers. And we work very hard. Yourself, Paul, Kyle, Charlie, Patrick, Noah. We work very hard to bring everyone the best coverage we can. Hopefully you folks appreciate that. So thank you once again. For my co-host, Pete Visco, this has been your host, a tired, a little sore host from the recent workout, but I'll get back into it. Howard Kravitz, episode 34 of Horsin' Around. Crush your bets anywhere you play this week. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.